Hi, welcome to My Court Coach. I'm Jaylyn and I'm going to be your instructor as we navigate through form DV-720, response to request to renew restraining order. This form is going to be filled out because you received a notice of hearing for the renewal of the restraining order, and because there is a restraining order after hearing in place. And lastly, the other party did in fact file a request to renew the restraining order. One thing to note, that on your restraining order after hearing, you will see a date that your restraining order is going to expire, and you will see a different date on the notice of court hearing. And it specifically states that the restraining order after hearing is now extended to the date of your new hearing to renew the restraining order. It doesn't mean that they're going to grant the renewal of the restraining order, but the courts like to err on the side of caution and extend out the restraining order to the date of the renewal, instead of having the restraining order expire and that party is now left without any protection during their request to renew the restraining order. And in fact, the court does have a little notation here. It says the court will consider your response at the hearing, write your hearing date, time, and place from form DV-710, so that's the notice of hearing, and you're going to write all of that here. And it says you must continue to obey the current restraining order on form DV-130 until the hearing. If you do not come to the hearing, then the court may renew the order against you 5 years or permanently. So it's very serious that you do appear at your restraining order hearing for renewal to defend yourself. So for you to complete this, you have to complete the protected person. That's the person that filed the restraining order against you, your name, and then if you have a lawyer, your lawyer's information and the address of the attorney or your residential address or mailing address. You don't need to include telephone, fax, or email address. And you do need to make sure that this response to the request to renew the restraining order, along with the proof of service by mail, which is the DV-250, those two forms must be filed with the court. And in your notice of hearing to renew the restraining order, that one will list the time frame in which you need to file this response by. So that and the proof of service by mail, you just need to file that before your actual hearing. And make sure you bring the filed copies with you to court. It's very important that you do that in case you receive any objections from the other party as to whether you filed a response and whether they actually received the response. So you're either going to agree to renew the order or you're going to disagree to renew the order. Most individuals disagree to renew the order. You're asking the court to not renew it because, and then you have to specify why you don't want the court to renew it. You might need some additional space besides what's written here, other than you just not agreeing. And so you have to attach a sheet of paper, and so we suggest that you use MC025. It is an attachment, and you just write DV-720, and you write the facts in response to the allegations in the request to renew the restraining order. Our advice is to go through every single line item and respond to it. Don't leave a single line item without a response to it, because one of the elements that the other party has to prove is that their fear is reasonable. And if they are describing, a situation where you're violating the restraining order and it can look like that, but you really aren't violating the restraining order because there's more to the story, you want to be able to respond and give your version of the story or incident. And I'll give you an example. So the other party in their paperwork, they said that you violated the restraining order by being at the same football game as them, and that they knew that you were there and you were within 100 yards of them at the time of the game. You read that and this is the first time that you're learning that the other party was at the game, and in fact the stadium is over 100 yards, so you aren't even within 100 yards of that party. And thirdly, there's a bunch of people at this football game, so how is this person in fear when I'm not even close to them? I don't even know if they're even there. So those sort of responses is going to help the court to see that the other party's request is unreasonable and that you did not violate the restraining order. So just keep that in mind. That's just an example of how you can really express your position and really go after line item by line item to make sure that you are presenting yourself in the best light when you respond to the request to renew the restraining order. And then you're going to go ahead and date it, type your name and sign it, and make sure that you print it, and make sure that you also file it with the court and make 2 copies of your original and file it with the court and send it off to the other party, not you, but somebody over the age of 18 that's not a party to this case or a protected party in the restraining order. We hope that you have found this helpful, and good luck.